So this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Deacon Elevator Call. It's early in the morning, and we're going to try to get in a little meditation and learning the techniques of meditation written in this unbelievable book, The Ultimate Connection with God. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran is the author of this book, and a tremendous amount of work that's gone into it. There are a few spelling mistakes that you see in works that really don't have a lot of money behind them, but the ideas in here are fantastic. Today we're going to go into a section called Knowing Yourself. Lesson number 2, he calls it. And this is the first section. He says, calming the storm of the mind, part 1. And he calls it the compulsive thinker. Now, let me see, I keep moving this. Let me get myself set up a little differently. So here we go. Now, the human mind is not a domesticated animal, Rabbi Mimran writes, but rather seems to have a mind of its own, beyond the will of the thinker. Anyone who has ever tried to concentrate on a subject, only to have his mind drift to other thoughts, is aware of this. So especially for those of us who are praying, because during the time of the Shemona Esrei, which is the first and most important part, we always find our minds drifting. Sometimes it seems that the more one tries to control one's thoughts, the more they refuse to be controlled. It is strange, he says, that most people have never given a thought to their thoughts. What's going inside of your head? It's thinking constantly. Thoughts are so much part of our being that we take them for granted. One of the first steps in meditation is learning how to not take our thoughts for granted. Now, this is actually a big idea, and let's see what we can do as we try to develop it, as Rabbi Mimran tries to develop it. When we identify too strongly with our minds, our thoughts become compulsive. What a dreadful affliction it is to be unable to stop thinking. But the sad truth is that most of us are compulsive thinkers. And because we are surrounded constantly by our own mental chatter, we don't even realize how handicapped our compulsive thoughts make us. In fact, we consider that state to be normal. But it is far from normal. A mind that is constantly thinking doesn't allow you to reach that crucial state of inner stillness that you need in order to access the vitality of your soul. Now let's go over that one. If your mind is constantly working, and he's going to get into more detail, you can't achieve the state of inner calmness. That's what you're looking for, that you need in order to access the vitality of your soul. In other words, you have to be able to find your soul. Your thoughts keep you from being in touch with the eternal aspects of your being. The place where your true normal self lies is at the soul. And there is more. Compulsive thinking creates a deceptive shadow that envelops you with fear and suffering. We will discuss this aspect later, and he's going to get into that more. So we're talking about the idea that we have to learn how to calm our minds, because just to bring you the idea that you are constantly thinking and you never stop. Thus, almost every one of us, for most of us are compulsive thinkers, live in a world that is impossibly complex, a world that is characterized by a stream of never-ending problems and conflict, a world in which we are like helpless victims that we are, experience ever more severe fragmentation of the mind as we are pulled in far too many directions at once. All the overthinking we do catapults us into a state of perceived separateness, a feeling of me against the world. Can we step on the brakes? Can we break the habit of compulsive thinking, quiet our minds, and achieve not a state of separateness, but a state of connectedness? And for myself personally, I notice this mostly some nights when you can't sleep. How do we calm the thoughts go back and forth, the arguments, the different kinds of well, he calls it compulsive thinking, you can't stop it, is exactly how do you get to a state where the thoughts stop. What a wonderful thing that would be. Being connected means being at one with the world, at one with life as you experience and understand it, at one with your deepest self, at one with your own neshama, and at one with your creator. That's what connection means. It is yichud, joining together all of these aspects. Being connected means being at peace, because in this state, all conflict is dissolved. Imagine a life without conflict. So he says, imagine a life without conflict. So let us set this type of life as our objective. Now, let me see, bring this down again and read it again. He says, I think I missed a little bit at the top, so let's look at it down at the bottom again. He says, imagine a life without conflict. It is definitely achievable, a life of balance. Let us set this type of life as our objective. Have patience with yourself and with the process, as together, step by step, we learn to make this our new normal state. We can do this. So he's saying, Rabbi Mimran is saying, that you could stop, you can learn how to stop the flow of thinking in your mind. Because a lot of times that thinking, as he's going to get into it, is thinking of criticism, defensive type thinking. That's our natural state. So he says like this, what a dreadful affliction it is to be unable to stop thinking. We don't even realize how handicapped our compulsive thoughts make us. So it takes a moment, think about the concept that he's introducing here, which is that we actually can control our thoughts. And this is Baruch Fleischman. This is the morning meditation with Rabbi Mimran.